Hey everyone, it's Japandaman here.
And Neko.
And today on our Top 5 series, we're going to be looking at our top 5 favourite video games.
Yes, let's get straight into it.
So coming in at number 5 for me would have to be Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney on the Nintendo DS. Now this introduced the much loved character of Phoenix Wright and his objection tagline to the masses, and also the game progresses at such a great pace. Like each story in the game, each case progressively gets harder and harder and harder.
Which is what you want.
Exactly. Now, yeah, you don't want it to just go along at the same pace. It does get harder, makes you thinkful, makes those clues harder to find, and cross-examining your witnesses that bit harder. And you've got great characters thrown in there as well, like Mia and Maya and Larry Butts and the detective. It's such a great like roster of characters.
Butts.
And also the game with each installment just got better and better and better.
So my number 5, I thought I would start from the bottom. The game that got me into gaming, Super Mario Brothers.
What a classic.
Exactly. Now this game really needs no introduction. Everyone knows Super Mario, Nintendo, all that kind of stuff. I actually went overseas when I was younger. I think I was probably about, don't quote me, but maybe 6 or something like that. And I found a Nintendo console when I went over to visit my dad at his girlfriend's house. And I was like, oh my God, this is the coolest thing ever. I had never seen one before. Started playing, ended up playing that for 2 weeks instead of visiting my dad. Absolutely hooked. And the owner of that actually ended up giving me his Nintendo. So that sort of started the revolution, went from Nintendo upwards and onwards to better things.
And nothing quite as satisfying as jumping on those Goombas.
It's true.
At number 4 for me would have to be Jet Set Radio on the Sega Dreamcast.
Dreamcast.
Now, yeah, man, I just got to give a shout out to the Sega Dreamcast, which is my all-time favorite console, and this game was just an absolute joy to play. It introduced cel-shaded graphics for probably one of the first times, to the mainstream. To the mainstream public, and its graphics still hold up to today. So basically it involves spray painting the city known as Tokyo-to, which is very reminiscent of of modern day Tokyo, I guess. And you've got the authorities after you, and it's got these amazing cartoon looking sets with these brilliant levels, and you're rail grinding and just skating all over the place on rollerblades. And even though you're spray painting, and it does come with a disclaimer at the start of the game that says graffiti is not allowed and stuff. Yeah, it never made spray painting feel so much fun as in Jet Set Radio.
Coming in as Neko's number 4 is another classic, Donkey Kong Country.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This game, again, another epic game, and it was on my favourite console, the Super Nintendo.
Yeah, everyone loves a Super Nintendo.
It's true. I was a sucker for Mario, the Yoshi games, Donkey Kong, Mortal Kombat, all that kind of stuff. It's just, there's too many to mention, so it's a shame we had to only do 5. But Donkey Kong, loved it. I've got this real thing for monkeys. I think they're absolutely awesome. So to be able to play as a giant monkey with a tie and his little buddy Diddy Kong, oh my God, heaven. And I have to say, those minecart levels where you get to go on your roller coasters and jump and collect the bananas.
Yep, memorable.
Oh my God, I could just play that stuff forever. So that's why it's my number 4.
My number 3 is probably arguably one of the classic games of all time, Final Fantasy VII.
Yes.
Now, Final Fantasy VII really introduced JRPG gaming, I guess, to the more Western audiences and mainstream gaming. It was also the first game in the series to introduce 3D graphics, and it appeared on the first PlayStation, and it was just so revolutionary for its time. The cutscenes were just absolutely stunning, but also the characters themselves. Like, this is the game that introduced Cloud, Aerith, Tifa, and all the characters,
all those base characters.
They've all got such strong storylines and amazing backgrounds, and the boss battles are just absolutely huge.
If Final Fantasy does something well, it's boss battles.
Boss battles,
for sure.
And definitely probably another thing that was absolutely memorable in this particular game was the score from Nobuo Uematsu, and that is such a fantastic soundtrack to own. If you can get your hands on it, I strongly advise that you do so. It's an awesome soundtrack, it's an amazing game.
Coming in at my number 3 is, now, I am a massive fan of the Lego video game series, all of them, but if I had to choose one as my favourite, to put at number 3, I would say Lego Star Wars, the complete series. So basically you get to play through all 6 movies, down to the finest, smallest detail you could ever imagine. Now these games are just great. I think they captured the actual movies themselves perfectly.
The feel of it.
You get to play as all your favourite characters, and
Awesome.
even some of the really crappy characters like
That's what
Jar
you
Jar
want, though.
Binks.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
You want your options and all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. Now every stage in this is just huge. I'd say probably the fastest you're going to do one of these stages in is maybe 5 minutes, and that's doing it in express time. Some
Just
of them
speed run.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Some of them can be up to half an hour just for
Wow.
one level. So they're all pretty full on. And just little things like in the main menu when you're running around choosing a level, they're playing the Cantina music from Star Wars. So that just makes my heart shine. I absolutely love it, and that's why it's number 3.
Number 2 for me would have to be Resident Evil 4 on the Nintendo GameCube.
Another solid series.
Another solid, series. There's not much wrong that this game did. It brought survival horror to the Nintendo GameCube and just left gamers wanting for more. Leon S. Kennedy, who is the main protagonist in the game, was just absolutely amazing. Such a character, you could easily, I guess, relate to and just almost like, fall in love with him because he's just so epic. He's just a strong male lead. And, the villains in the game were some of the most terrifying that I've ever had to, play against or I guess, kill. They're just absolutely terrifying. The surroundings, the actual, set designs.
The whole mood of the game.
It was so moody. It was atmospheric, like the villages are just crazy. And, there were some, religious people in the game as well. And they were just, all out to kill you with their scary chanting and things like that. And even like, with the weapon system, aiming over the shoulder, it was just, it just brought so many new,
really,
it brought so many new elements to the game and actually probably revitalized the whole Resident Evil franchise as a series. It was such an epic game. It also appeared on the PlayStation 2, but, it didn't receive such a great, I guess, reception on it. It kind of took a bit of, a few shortcuts in the I guess in the port. So definitely, if you want to play the superior version, play it on GameCube or even the Wii version, which introduced pointing, was just as good as well.
Okay, my number 2 is something a bit different. I tend to like a lot of cutesy, like sort of girly-ish games, but this one, Gran Turismo 4. Yeah, love it. This is one game that literally kept me up all night sometimes. I'd wake up dreaming about it and be like, oh, what's going on? Oh, I've got to go play some at 3 o'clock in the morning. And that doesn't usually happen to me with games.
When the game does that.
But this one had me hook, line and sinker. It had such an amazing sort of choice of cars and races. And in terms of like games on the PS2, I thought this was just next level. Just the scope of the actual game itself was enormous. It also gave you a good sense of satisfaction and achievement. Some games can be a little bit too hard sort of straight up front. Whereas this one, you work through your licenses and then up through different classes of racing. And then by the end, you're kicking some serious butt without even realising what happened.
But damn, some of those licenses are a bit tricky.
I have to say, they're kind of my specialty, the licensing tests. But yeah, they can be damn hard.
Badass racer.
Woo!
Okay, so Japandaman's all-time favorite game, the number 1 for me would have to be Metal Gear Solid on PlayStation, on the first PlayStation.
Epic.
Yeah, man. It introduced quite a few things. It introduced the character of, Solid Snake, I guess, to a larger audiences.
And there's a Solid Snake, Nindoroid and Figma coming out soon.
Ooh,
a little bit of a tip.
And it also introduced, the stealth genre, because up until then it was all very like, guns blazing and bang, 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 bang. If you do that in Metal Gear Solid, you just alert the guards and you're dead. You get in 2 seconds. And definitely one of the most intricate storylines, in the game. You're on Shadow Moses Island. There's a bunch of terrorists that have got nuclear arms and are threatening to launch them. It also introduced, the titular, Metal Rex character, which is just amazing. And just overall, the amazing cutscenes of the game, which, some gamers actually aren't a fan of because they feel like you're just watching a long movie with gameplay thrown in.
Between.
Yeah, I can't get enough. Those cutscenes, are just amazing. Those codec scenes are just amazing. Definitely one of the best, in my opinion, one of the best top 3 games on the PlayStation ever.
Okay guys, we're down to my number 1 game of all time. Now, I have to say, generally, I would like to choose the whole series or the whole franchise for my number one, which is Pokemon. But since I thought I should narrow it down, I decided to choose X and Y as my specific favorite Pokemon games of all time. Now, basically, it's beautiful, cute animals or just weird, bizarre animals that you get to collect, level up, and evolve. Like for me, that's totally winning. I love that kind of thing. But in terms of Pokemon X and Y, they have come such a long way, even since Black and White. Just with the graphics, the gameplay, new Pokemon, a whole new type. We're bringing in the fairy type to combat the dragons.
Which introduces new strategy.
Exactly. So it's just amazing. I can't get enough of this. I am sort of a bit of a mad collector and completionist. Just slightly OCD. I have to have every single thing, every Pokemon, every level, every ability, everything.
Every shiny.
Every shiny. I want to do a complete shiny dex one day, but I know that is going to be a hell of a lot of breeding. So that might be in the future sometime. But I can't get enough of Pokemon.
So guys, that brings us to the end of our top 5 mini-series.
But don't go anywhere. We've got season 2 of It's Japandaman in the works and plenty more to keep you guys occupied in between.
So keep it locked to our Facebook page for news, competitions, special episodes and loads more.
So until next time, I'm Neko.
And I'm Japandaman.
Matane!
Cheeky monkey.
Recording. And the monkey pushes a switch.
That's right. The monkey pushes. I just got that. You're in trouble, mister. Right. So 3, 2, 1.
So guys, that brings us to the end of our top 5 mini-series.
But don't go anywhere. We've got season 2 of It's Japandaman in the works and plenty more to keep you guys occupied in between.
So keep it locked to our Facebook page for news, competitions, special episodes and loads more.
So until next time, I'm Neko.
And I'm Japandaman.
Matane!
Excellent.
Good, I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah, that was solid, man. There was no fucking...
Solid.
No knocking about with that one.
No.
Woo!
Woo!
That's it.
Okay.
Now, what did you want to do for the YouTube thing?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, what you wanted to do.
All right, just, okay, so yeah, just the basic, like, things like, so hey,